Hello, hello. This is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you are watching or listening to another episode of the Rebound Coach Live. I am so glad that you're here today. If this is your first time watching or listening and you have never spent virtual space with me before, number one, thank you so much. Thank you for spending your time here. Thank you for giving me a portion of your evening, a portion of your day. And I hope that today blesses you. I do want to say we are also simulcast over on Clubhouse. So after this talk here, we transfer over to Clubhouse for like an after chat. So feel free to pop over there. I did add the link to the description that you found on Facebook. But if you Clubhouse, go ahead, hop over and search Sanctuary XP as the house and the name of the room on Clubhouse as the name of this episode here. Are you who they say you are? Am I who I say I am? Am I who they say I am? Y'all, so I've had to deal with this recently, and it's not just me. Other people around me has told me that they are also dealing with this. Y'all ever had imposter syndrome? Now, that's a term that gets tossed around quite a bit, and it essentially means like you don't believe the good things about you, right? But to be honest, that is it's like a false humility almost. It's like, oh no, I don't believe these good things about me. But the truth is the other side is way more prevalent most of the time. And you might be like, what are you talking about? Let me back up. If this is your first time sharing virtual space with me, I'm so glad you're here. I'm Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you might say, what in the world is a rebound coach? I don't know what that means. I've never heard that before. So I'm a life coach, and I help people get unstuck. Specifically, I serve high-achieving women of faith who've lived through betrayal, trauma, or abuse, and want to reclaim territory in their relationship with self. Most of the folks I work with are very accomplished people, smart people, and they're people who have been through mess, y'all, in their life. And they might wrestle with this thought, am I who they say I am? And so, y'all, this started for me back because I survived a marriage that almost ended my life, which is crazy just to say that out loud. But I was married 10 years to a man who wanted me dead. And he almost had the chance to do that. That didn't make sense for someone like me. I was raised in a Christian home. I had two parents that were married. They loved God. They loved each other. They were married for a lifetime. So all the statistics say that my experience should not have happened to me. And my parents, my father was my mother's caretaker. So I saw him really demonstrate love in a very practical and physical way. And they were a great example. At the same time, I was molested from the time I was 8 to the time I was 16. And that really affects how you see yourself, how you relate to God in a household of faith, and how you relate to the opposite sex. So for me, when I met the man that I married and eventually divorced, there were definitely red flags. There were definitely reasons not to be together. But as a praying woman, I believed that whatever situation would come, we'd outlast it. We'd overcome it. God would swoop in and save the day and change him and make things better, different. And God did all the things, just not in the way I had anticipated. We got into this cycle of what I call coping and crisis. It's where you never quite get to good or even, satisfactory. You're just kind of walking on eggshells, and you're very, very careful that something doesn't blow up today. And we did that for a while. And then you do the coping dance, and then it blows up into some sort of crisis. And then you're having to put the pieces all back together and go back to the coping thing. And so we did that for, the larger part of 9 years. Things kind of came to a head towards the end of that. End of 2019, beginning of 2020, he left for another woman. And I found out he and the woman had been plotting my murder, y'all, for months by the time I found out. So needless to say, it's like this record scratch moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe this is happening to me. What am I supposed to do now? And I had really important decisions to make. You know, you're threatened as a human being, as a wife, as a mom, as a child of God, but also as a coach. I had been coaching marriage and family and relationship in the faith-based household for about 5 or 6 years by that point, and had built this platform, this identity around staying married, around covenant marriage, and how that is the only choice, and no matter what, and all of this. And I was helping people in difficult marriages stay married. It's what I knew how to do. It's what I knew how to help people do. And if you can imagine building your identity, we understand platforms in today's world maybe a little more because of social media and the way people show up. They show up with a very strong brand, right? So my whole brand was about staying married no matter what. And I had to face that identity shifting and saying, you know, this horrible thing happened and I'm probably not going to stay married. And it was crazy. However, there was this divine series of events that happened that allowed me to be not only alive and safe, but well. My children and I are thriving. We're unlearning and relearning and deconstructing and building new things. And it's an exciting ride. It is a worthwhile journey. And I assist others on a journey of reclaiming territory in their relationship with self. So y'all, I wrote this book. It's called I Choose Life, because I had a choice to allow who he told me I was, who he told me I was allowed to be, to tell me how many days I had left on the planet, how I was allowed to express myself. You know, my very life choices had been pre-planned and dictated by someone who touted himself as an authority over me, or I could choose life. So that's why the book is called I Choose Life. Rewrite your love story and change your legacy. It's not only about romantic relationships, but how we learned to love and how we learned to be loved. That's a story that originates way before any romantic relationships, and it can predispose you, set you up for relationships that are not healthy. But the beautiful thing is, you can rewrite your love story. So if my story resonated with you, or you know someone like, hey, they need this book, you can get this book at thereboundcoach.com/book. That is thereboundcoach.com/book. You can get one of these physical copies, and I will sign it and write you a love note and mail it to you. Or you can click on the Amazon link and get one from there, or an ebook version. You find all of that information at thereboundcoach.com/book. Okay, y'all. Okay. Am I who they say I am? Are you who they say you are? Where do you get your identity from? So we talked a little bit about identity. In my story, you heard me talk about it. But I'm going to tell you, this kind of goes both ways. This goes two ways, okay? Either people get stuck because of someone's negative words about you. And you might be familiar with this concept, with this idea. You know, people in your childhood said negative things about you, and it haunts you. And you might be like, no way, that doesn't haunt me. I'm Superwoman. I'm super person. This doesn't haunt me. What you talking about? Okay. So the ways in which we limit ourselves, and I say we because I'm included in this, and I learn these lessons fresh just as I share them with you. So the ways in which we limit ourselves, what are you telling yourself you can't do? What are you telling yourself you can't do? If you are watching this replay or watching me live, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. I want to know, what are the things you're telling yourself that you cannot do, that you're allowed to want to do it, but you're not allowed to do it. Okay. Or you're not allowed to succeed at it. Okay. For me, I have some business desires. I won't call them goals, because goals have plans attached to them. They have accountability attached to them. But I've had business desires. I've had dreams in my heart and mind for many years that I did not allow myself to fully pursue. I told myself I could not, right? And there were reasons, right? I had reasons why I could not pursue these things, why I could not overtake these things. And we all have them. We all have the stories of the things that you tell yourself you can't do, right? The reasons behind what you're telling yourself, those are the stories. Those are the words that got stuck. Hey, you can't because, and I put in the little description for today's talk, poor, not ready. Those are a couple of things that people have spoken over me. I remember when my babies were babies, like newborn, somebody had came to help me with the baby, and person I really care about and continue to care about, and it was telling me, oh, well, you'll be poor, but you're already poor, so I guess that doesn't matter. Like, real matter of fact, like. And I remember thinking, like, man, that's dark to say to somebody you care about. Why would you say that about them? To their face even. But I don't think they were thinking about it like that, but I was. And it made me think, like, man, am I going to be poor? Am I stuck at this particular income bracket? Am I stuck at this level of success? Am I stuck? Do I have to just be someone smart or just someone with potential and never realize the potential? Do I have to wait to realize the potential? Is there some like clock that says, okay, you're ready now, you can be super person, right? Like, what's in your heart? Oh yeah, you can finally do it now. There's no like ringtone for that, right? There's no alarm set that goes ding, ding, ding. You get to be a great person now, or you get to be successful now, right? So number one, the things that you tell yourself you can't do show you those words that were spoken over you that you believe. And number two, if you said, you're aware that a parent told you you couldn't do anything right, and you're never going to be successful, and you're never going to make any money, and you might as well marry a rich man, right? Okay. You might spend your whole life trying to prove that voice wrong, right? So you do everything possible to go the other direction. You take extra school and you study to be a doctor because that's going to be the most opposite of what this person said to you. And you never get married because I don't want to, by accident, do what they said I had to do. And right, so you take all the steps you consciously can to get away from whatever was said, right? The reason we chase, or I would say trying to outrun someone's words and try to prove them wrong, is because we believe it. We believe it. We believe there's some level of truth to the statement. Otherwise, we wouldn't spend energy trying to disprove anything. We would just live our lives and be like, I don't even have to try. That's not true. But we do believe there's some level of truth. Otherwise, we wouldn't claw and fight so hard to try to prove you're not something or that you are something else, right? So that's one way, okay, where we're stuck on someone's negative words about us. Okay, we believe it, we're scrapping, we're fighting. The other way this goes, am I who they say I am? The other way it goes is when other people compliment you and the compliment does not land. Let me know in the comments if you've ever been in a situation where you tell someone, normally a woman, you tell a woman, oh my gosh, what a nice dress. That's so pretty. And they go, this whole thing. Oh, I got it at the dollar store. They would say a dress at the dollar store, but they say like, oh, I just got it. I got it on sale. It was on clearance and I found it. So we women, we take this idea, this thought that humility means not receiving compliments, right? Not because that would be prideful if I said, thank you, I love it. Thank you, I picked it out on purpose. Thank you, it was a gift, right? Thank you, it's expensive, right? Nobody out loud brags about how expensive something is, or if they do, it's perceived as like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's bragging or so-and-so's materialistic, right? But those brands exist because someone wants to show like, look at my value attached to the value of this item that I'm wearing or having or doing or whatever, right? Those are value statements. When people participate in high-end luxury items, high-end luxury experiences, it's I'm valuable. Look what I'm doing. All right. So when people compliment you, it doesn't land. This is also, and I've definitely been there. I don't think I'm at that place now, but there was a time where I didn't believe them, or I'd heard it so much that I didn't believe it. There was an entire season that I felt very, very unloved, and I was surrounded by love. Particularly, my kids loved me. I remember very specifically the moment I felt my children's love. And that's weird to say, but previous to that, I didn't feel their love. I felt my love to them. I felt my responsibility to them. And I had attached value to the responsibility as opposed to being, right? I was a doer. I'm a recovering doer. How about that? I'm a recovering doer. And I had not really connected or allowed myself to connect with the love that my children had for me. And I remember the moment that it clicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I am loved. I'm so deeply, deeply, deeply loved. And even as I say that right now, I can feel love coming from people who care about me. And I just, if you ever find yourself in a lonely place, in a discouraged place, now I would tell you this too, for leaders, for high achieving women, for women with dreams and purpose and vision and businesses and stuff, discouragement fights you. And it's, first of all, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I had a wave of discouragement try to take me down, right? Even recently. And I reached out to a couple folks, and one of them was a little harsh. And I think they were trying to like say, snap out of it, right? But here's the thing. Don't be ashamed if discouragement comes. Don't be ashamed. Don't allow yourself to stay there. Don't allow yourself to wallow in it. But it's okay to acknowledge, hey, I'm feeling discouraged right now. Hey, I can't see anything positive right now. Could you remind me how amazing I am? Because I don't see that happening right now. It happens, and it happens to everyone. And it especially happens to leaders. So I just want to encourage you. If you felt discouraged, even, hey, with all I've accomplished, with all I've done, I should never feel down. I should never feel like it doesn't count. It happens, and it's okay. It's okay. You get to choose who you are. You get to choose what you believe. You get to choose what you dwell on. You get to choose what defines your day. You get to choose what defines you. Okay? So if you're having trouble with your choices, don't do it by yourself. All right. So surrounded by love you don't feel. It's really when the inside voice, the inside inner critic, is louder than the outside voices. So someone says, oh my gosh, you look so pretty today. Your inside voice says, or I should point here, here, or here. Your inside voice says, no, you don't. You know you're ugly. The best you can do is put this thing on. You know it's not even that nice, right? And what you say is, thanks. I got this at the thrift store, right? So what is that? That's the inner voice being louder than outside voices. People say, I love you. And you go, thank you. Or you say, I love you too. But inside you're like, that's not real. What do I have to do for that? What do I owe them now? Right. And that's literally, those are patterns that happen after abusive relationships, because that's one of those dynamics. You owe them, right? You have to make things even. And so those thoughts can definitely come if you've been in an emotionally abusive, spiritually abusive, physically abusive relationship, financially abusive relationship. Those are the kind of dynamics. Oh man, they did something nice for me. I got to do something for them. I got to make this even. It's not, your heart isn't safe accepting love without payment. You feel like you have to pay. I have to make this even, right? It's a learned skill to accept love without payment, to accept love, period, full stop, is a learned skill. It is actually a learned skill. And either we learn it as kids or we don't, or we learn somewhere in between. And it is a skill we can refine and grow in. It's a muscle to grow in, to accept love, to accept honor, to accept praise, to accept preference. It is a skill. It really is a skill. To accept help and assistance is a skill. All of this is in line with identity, because if you don't feel like you are worthy, you're not going to accept compliments. You're not going to accept honor. You're not going to accept space. You're not going to accept love. I've shared in other episodes. Yes, it is a skill. Hi, Josephine. I learned the proper pronunciation of your name. It's Josephine and not Yusuphine. So thanks for putting up with me mispronouncing your name. But yes, absolutely. It is a skill. To accept love is a skill, and to accept honor. Many times we don't believe we are worthy of honor or praise, but we are. And as spiritual people, people of Judeo-Christian faith, we give praise and we give worship and we give honor to God, and we feel like we cannot receive those things. Y'all, we were made in his image and his likeness. So the stuff he likes, we like. And we're created as such. And it is not prideful to receive those things. Think about it. Think about it this way. We are his creation. We are his handiwork, and he delights in us. He said so, right? We don't have to figure out if that's true. He said so. He delights in us. Why don't we delight in us? And why don't we allow others to delight in us? When they tell us there's something special about you, you don't go, you're like, thank you. And you have extra permission, y'all. If someone ever says to you, there's something special about you, you're allowed to say, what is it? Tell me more. And that's not prideful either, right? It is growing in the skill of receiving love and receiving honor. Okay, so the real question, are you who they say you are? Am I who they say I am? No, the answer is no. The answer is you are who you say you are. And spiritual people might argue with me. They might be like, no, I am who God says I am. We write songs about it. We sing songs about it. Who does God say I am? Right? So, but if you don't believe it. It's who you say you are. If God says you are all these wonderful things and you say, I am not these wonderful things, you are who you say you are. As a person thinks in their heart, so are they. So you asked here, Josephine, do you think we're guarded from past trauma? I'm sure we guard for that reason. However, it's like what you always see, when people put walls around their hearts, put walls around their vulnerability. They think they're protecting themselves from the world, but really they are isolating themselves from the good that they're longing for. And our hearts long for the things that God's heart longs for. Intimacy, to be seen, to be heard, to be known, to be honored, to be recognized, to be appreciated. Our hearts long for those things. And when we guard, we protect ourselves from those things too. We isolate and we create stories that separate us from the people who actually do care and love and would love us louder, stronger, faster, more, if we allowed that. So, you are who you say you are, regardless of evidence. So if you've ever seen people, okay, y'all on social media, I know you've seen it. Hopefully your timeline isn't full of this, but folks who have conspiracy theories, who really, really, really believe it's their hill to die on about flat Earth. Okay. So if you ever seen an argument on social media about whether the Earth is flat or round, people are throwing in all kinds of evidence. They're throwing in articles. They're like, look at the NASA pictures. Look at this and look at that and look at physics and look at gravity and rah. No matter what evidence you put in front of a flat earther, they still believe the Earth is flat. Like, they are not budging. They take all that evidence to be like, no, this proves the Earth is flat. And for those who believe the Earth is round, I'm in that group. For those who believe the Earth is round, no amount of flat Earth evidence convinces them otherwise, right? Why is that? We seek out self-fulfilling evidence in our worlds. And the algorithm is a perfect example of how that works. Yes, absolutely. The algorithm works exactly this way. This is why social media can be an echo chamber of only seeing and hearing from people who already agree with you, or, who you're trending toward. Because if you like that, the algorithm's giving you more of that, whatever floats your boat. And so you end up with a lot of similar voices. So it's the same thing. Regardless of the evidence, it only proves what you already believe. So you can take a fact, you can take a situation, something that happened, and be like, oh, this means, and you fill in the blank. You fill in the blank with your story. You fill in the blank with your identity. Whatever you believe that is, you fill in the blank with the labels that you've chosen to take on. And you say, see, that proves it. I'm not this, I can't that. It proves it. I have to do this. I have to stay here. Okay. So here's my Christianese term phrase. Ready? Whose report do you believe? Whose report do you believe? How do you get out? You say, okay, I understand this has happened to me. I either have had imposter syndrome where I don't believe the good about myself, or I'm out chasing somebody's negative comments that in my heart I believe. Okay. How do I get out? What do I do? Okay. Here's the steps. Number one, if you are taking notes, be honest about your self-belief. So I gave you a question earlier in the talk. What are the things that you're telling yourself you cannot do, or you cannot be, or you cannot have? Be honest with yourself. This is always where it starts. Because you can't deal with something you haven't identified. Be honest about your self-belief. Number two, dig deeper. Why do I believe such a thing? Who told me that? Why do I think they're right? Okay. And there may be it's your inner voice that you're dealing with. Okay. You think it's your mom or your dad or your sister or your cousin or a teacher, but really it's the inner voice. So there's always going to be a reason to forgive yourself in that mix. Well, I think it really is true because I failed at that thing. So it must mean I'm a failure. I failed at this string of things. So it must mean I'm a failure. I didn't make it past whatever. I didn't make it past this income level. It must mean I'm poor. I was born in this set of circumstances. It must mean I'm disadvantaged. All the things, okay? Forgiving yourself and others who might have labeled you, who did label you, okay? Forgiving yourself for taking on the labels. Forgiving yourself for allowing yourself to stay stuck in that cycle for however long you've been in it. And releasing any shame associated with that. Okay. So again, number one, get honest about self-belief. Number two, forgiveness for yourself and others who labeled you. Number three, reprogramming. Now, I do this in 1, 2, 3 steps because that's easy to communicate. But this is a cyclical kind of activity. So what does that mean? That means even after you've, hey, I sat down and I journaled about what I believe about myself. Great. And then you'll get up from that journaling session, you'll go on with your day and something else will pop, right? That's okay. You didn't do it wrong. You actually did it right. This is the process. As you dig, it rise. As you dig, it rise. As you dig, it rise. This is how it works. Deal with things as they come, I'm like, I gotta figure it all out right now. Why, perfectionist? Cut it out. You don't have to figure it all out right now. What you do need to do is address what is rising. Okay. Whatever's rising up, let's handle that. I don't have to handle anything else right now. Just going to handle this. Okay. In this moment that I can do. After that, okay, something else. We'll deal with the something else when the something else rises. Okay. All right. Reprogramming. I'm going to tell you this. I was working with a coach. And I only say that because I was digging and this is what was rising, just as I shared with you. And I was sitting, reflecting, it's this beautiful place. I went to this personal development event and I was sitting overlooking these beautiful mountains in the morning. It was like birds chirping and the breeze was blowing. It was very nice. And I was just praying and meditating. And I was praying out loud and I spoke the words, abuse is not the only love available to me. Many women who have come through abusive marriages or abusive relationships, like I have, avoid future relationships because they believe that abuse is what's going to be available to them. Like if they get involved in something, it's going to be abusive. Now, there are many dynamics to look at, to talk about around all of that, and we are not getting into all that today. What I will say is, what came out of my mouth is abuse is not the only love available to me. There are other options, and it starts your reprogramming, you becoming stronger, you becoming more confident. It starts with giving yourself permission to have a different experience. It starts with permission. The second step is decision, but at least, that's not the only option available. There is another option that is healthy, not just healthy, but like fantastic, right? So start there. And then you can decide, I choose to receive healthy love. I choose to receive amazing favor. I choose to receive support and friendship. Like all those things. Affirmations, your words, just like words got stuck, you use words to get unstuck. It's the same process. And you have to do it a lot. Why? Because you've been living however long you've been living, and the negative words have been around that long. So you got to undo with as much effort, if not more, as it happened in the first place. But the process is the same. So keep it up, keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. That's how it works. So your steps and review, be honest about your self-belief, forgiveness for yourself and others who labeled you. Number 3, reprogramming. Okay, so you gave yourself permission, I can. Then you give yourself a direction, I choose. Faith comes by hearing. The more you hear it, the more it sticks. Okay? And when the critic rises, the critic has history. The critic has facts, or what is perceived as facts, to tell you, no, you can't because of this. No, you can't because of that, right? That's not a thing you can do. Okay. The facts, the history is the history, right? We can't go back and change that. So it's okay to acknowledge what is already factual without allowing that to destroy your future or to limit your future. And the words are, yep, that did happen, but he makes all things new. Yep, that sure did happen, but he makes all things new. And confessing that over yourself and your life and the areas in which your heart longs to change is completely possible. And if you're like, but I might need help in the journey, we got you. We are hosting a fantastic event coming up in just a few months called Sanctuary Experience. I want to tell you a story about this. I'm going to share a video. I'm going to tell you a story. Okay, so I shared with you earlier, part of my struggle had been there's dreams, there's business desires that I had not allowed myself to pursue. And discouragement came and told me, this is futile. You can work, but it's never going to get you where you want to go. All sorts of other negative things. Y'all. And thank you for hanging out. If you're still here, it's like 34 minutes in. Okay, this is a good story. So we do these events twice a year right now. And in fall of last year, we had an event and we had a guest come and blow a shofar and pray. And one of the ladies that was there, he prayed for her and he said, I have something for you. It was a very, very special something. I will tell you about that after this video. I want you to watch. This is the atmosphere that is set at these events. It's a 3-day VIP experience, literally an experience. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you what happened.
Bridegroom decks himself, and like a priest with a beautiful headdress, and as a bride adorns herself with her jewels.
So that was an incredibly beautiful spiritual experience for everyone who was there. And really beautiful things came out of it. So the lady I was telling you about not only received prayer that day that was really, really special and meaningful, she received a prophetic piece of art. And several other people received prophetic pieces of art that grew out of the sanctuary experience. It is not just for what happens that weekend, it is for what happens out of that weekend, the changes in you, the changes, spiritual changes in you, what comes off of you and what you are able to be joined to after. the Sanctuary experience. You can find more information about how to not miss your next opportunity at thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. That is thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. There are no guarantees. COVID taught us that. There's no guarantees that it's going to keep happening in the way it's happening now. Don't miss your opportunity. So, y'all, faith come by hearing. So in addition to hearing the good things about yourself from yourself, it's good to be reminded of the value of your value. It's good to be reminded of the good in the work you do, the good impact that you make, the friendships and the value of it, and your value to other people. Y'all, I was looking through testimonies from Sanctuary and from other things, and it's such a beautiful reminder of how valuable this work is, and what an honor it is to even share virtual space with you today. What an honor it is to speak life into you, to speak truth into you. What an honor it is to have the opportunity to encourage you to choose life on a weekly basis. It's beautiful, and it's an honor. So I just want to play this last little thing, and then we'll wrap up, because I know today has been a little bit longer. But check out Alisa's testimony of her very first Sanctuary experience.
And so I've had an incredible experience here, being able to serve and help along. I love how they really set up an environment that is intentionally welcoming the presence of God. I think it's just been an absolute blessing, like for me, just helping out and even being able to participate, and for all the women that have been here. And I just praise God for this work, and I pray that it continues, because His word needs to continue to go forth, and we need these experiences and these close encounters. So thank you.
Okay, that was super quick. But watching her body language, watching how excited she was to share, and that blessed me. That blessed me. And it's just a good reminder of how valuable the work is. So I just want to encourage you to remind yourself of how valuable you are, how valuable your contribution is to the world right now, currently. If you never did another thing, if you didn't climb another rung in anybody's ladder, you are already so valuable, not just to yourself, but to many, many, many others. You're valuable to me. Thanks for sharing this time. Appreciate you. Put in the comments what stood out for you, what you're going to take action on. Share this message with someone who needs to be encouraged today. And until next time, folks, choose life.